Okay, and welcome back, students who are taking Math for Business and Finance and Math Applications. We are working on the Chapter 22 word problems. These are the optional problems that are at the end of that chapter. Even though they weren't assigned, I'm doing them because statistics is a little bit more difficult subject matter, and therefore the more practice you get, the better off you are. Okay, we left off with problem number 7 in the last video, which was working through determining above and below certain points in our normal distribution. Okay, now number 8 and 9. They're both asking to calculate the mean sales figure and the standard deviation. Now, we covered, let me get my pen. We had covered doing the standard deviation in a more simplistic fashion in questions number 2, 3, and 4, the optional, okay, word problems. I'm sorry, drill problems. Right, and I suggest that if you go back and you rewatch those particular videos, because it goes into a little bit more in depth as far as a step-by-step is concerned, and you actually see me working through the numbers and creating a table and whatever have you. Okay, and I do suggest that you go ahead and do that. But I'm not going to be spending a lot of time here working on math, all right? Because it's just, you could be punching this stuff up on a calculator. Unfortunately, statistics is like that. There's an awful lot of math, and it takes a lot of time, especially if you're doing it by hand. Yeah, you use the calculator, it makes it a little bit quicker. Yeah, you use an Excel spreadsheet, it makes it even faster. And yes, if you had a standard deviation program or a statistical program, you're able to do it even as much more faster, but you do have to set those things up anyway. All right, so for a small sample like this, even doing it in that software program isn't really saving you that much time because you have to be setting the stuff up. But for all intents and purposes, I'm not going to spend an awful lot of time doing the math. So I'm going to explain what to do, but I'm not going to actually show what to do, okay, because you can be punching that stuff up on the calculator yourself, okay? All right, so, and of course, if you don't understand something, watch it again. And if you still don't understand, really go back and, watch those optional drill problems where I do go step by step doing all of the math, okay? And if you still are having a difficult time, telephone and speak to an instructor. It's not something you can do via email, just by the nature of the subject matter. Okay, so number 8 here, it says, listed below are the sales figures in thousands of dollars for a group of insurance people. Calculate the mean sales figure and the standard deviation. So the mean sales figure is nothing more than the average, right, of all of the numbers, of all of the data points. So what you're going to do is you're going to add up, all of these figures here, 117 plus 223 plus 486 plus 350 plus 275 plus 320, and so on and so forth. And when you add them all up, you actually end up getting, 4,601. So that's the total of all of those numbers. Okay. Now we're going to divide by however many data points there are. Well, there's 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, 5 rows, and there's 5 columns, I'm sorry, and there's 3 rows. So 5 times 3 is 15. Right, so there's 15 data points there. So if you take 4601 and you divide it by 15, you get 306.73 for your mean as sales. And remember, this is in thousands of dollars, okay? So the mean is 306.73. Now we want to calculate the standard deviation. Well, to calculate the standard deviation, the next step we do is we have to subtract and find the deviation from the mean for each one of these data points, meaning I'm going to take 117 and I'm going to take 306.73 and subtract 117. And whatever I get, 306.73 minus 117. Actually, it's the other way around. Sorry. Erase that. It really doesn't matter though, because it's 117 minus 306.73 gives me a negative 113. Geez, my math is wrong here. 117 minus 306.73 gives me 189.73. Now, you're going to do the same thing for each and every one of these numbers, okay? So I do 223 minus the 306.73, and let me just do that one real quick, minus 306.73, 223 minus 306.73 gives me a negative 83.73, okay? And then you're going to keep on going down, and you're going to do each and every one of these data points. So you're going to have a list of the deviations from the mean, okay? Because remember, this is my data point and this is my mean, and the difference between the two is the deviation, okay? So these are my deviations. So that was the next step. Once you have all of the deviations, okay, the following step is you have to square each one of those deviations, meaning you take each number and you multiply it by itself, okay? So you have 189.73 times 189.73, and that's going to give you a negative 189 and a negative 189. So that's going to give you a positive 35,997.47. Okay, so that's 35,997.47. Okay, then you're going to do the next one. Okay, get my eraser. Boy, I'm having a hard time again today with this tablet here. Okay, so my next one would be a negative 83.73 times a negative 83.73, and that gives me 7,010.71. Okay, 7,010.71. Okay, so you're going to go down, and for all 15 of these numbers, you're going to subtract the mean of 306.73 from each one of those numbers, and you get the deviation. And then when you have the deviation, you square it, meaning multiply it by itself. And so now you have that deviation squared, okay, in this column here, right? Once you have all 15 of those numbers, okay, then you're going to add them all up, right? And in this case here, we end up with 197. Let's see here. Some 197, 190.9335. Okay, so we add up all of those numbers and we come up with 197,190.9335. Right? So let me go back over that again. So you're not lost. All right. I'm erasing it all. Because it's just basically doing things step by step. It's just knowing what to do for the steps and then having to do all of the math. So just try to remember what the steps are. So we have to first find the mean. So we add up all 15 of these numbers, which came to 4601, and we divide by 15 because there's 15 numbers, and that gives us a mean of 306.73. Then we take each number and we subtract the 306.73 from it, which gives us our deviation. Okay. Minus 189.73. So we're going to do that for all 15 of these numbers. We're going to take each number and subtract the mean of 306.73 and get a deviation. When we have all of those deviations, then what we're going to do is we're going to square them. You square each one. Right, now remember, a minus times a minus is a positive. Okay, so when I have 189.73 minus 189.73, and I multiply it by itself, I ended up with a positive 35,997.472. Okay, that's what it actually came out to, 35,997.42. So now I'm going to go down and I'm going to square each one of those 15 numbers. Remember, from here to here there's 15 numbers, right? And I'm going to square each one, which is going to give me a list of the squaring of the deviations. So when I have these all squared, I have 15 numbers here, and I'm going to add them all up. When I add them all up, I end up with 197,190.9335. Okay, so that's the sum of the squared deviations. Now, once I have this number of 197,190.335, I'm going to erase all of this. See, the mean here is 306.73. I'll just leave that there for you, because I need more space. Okay, what I have is I take that 190.9335, and I put it over, I'm going to divide by n minus 1. Remember, this is the deviation squared. This is the deviation squared, and we divide it by the number of data points minus 1. Well, the number of data points is 15. So 15 minus 1 is 14. Okay, so I'm taking the 190.9335 and I'm dividing it by 14. Okay, and that gives me 14,085.066. Okay, so you with me so far? If not, back it up a little bit and rewind it, okay, and watch it again. So now I'm at 14,085.006. Okay, now I have to take the square root of that number, 14,085.066. And the way you get that is, if you have just a very, very basic calculator, you'll see a square root key on it. Right? So you clear out your calculator, then you punch in 14,085.066, and then all you need to do is just hit that key that has a square root symbol on it. And when you hit that key, it does the square root for you, and that ends up being 118.68 standard deviations. Okay, as a standard deviation. Right. Now remember, that's one standard deviation. Okay, a second standard deviation would be 2 times that. A third one would be 3 times that. All right. So that's how you figure out how much the standard deviation would be for this set of data points. Right. Okay, so that's all there is to it. I mean, I realize step by step by step, it's one after another. Watch the whole video again. Like I said, go back and watch 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to come back in the next video and do number 9, which is basically the same thing. And again, I'm not going to go through all the math. I'm just going to kind of go step by step and lead you through. And I'll give you the right amounts at the different points in time, so that if you're not getting to that point, then you're doing the math incorrectly. All right. But for right now, if you don't understand, go back and watch it again. And if you still don't understand the process, feel free to telephone and speak with an instructor. All right. See you in the next video.